How can you leverage more money out of a brand deal when you don't have that many Instagram followers? This is honestly where micro-influencers are securing the bag. Welcome back to Creating with Kea, where I share all the behind the scenes tips and tricks and work that goes into being a content creator, which I am under the name Comfy Girl Curls. Back when influencer marketing was newer, follower count was everything, but that is not really the case anymore, especially when a lot of people buy their followers. What matters most is actually engagement and brand affinity. And smaller influencers, those with followers under 10K even, are actually being sought out more and more by brands. And that is because their engagement rates tend to be higher, they are able to connect with more of their audience one-on-one, and therefore have more of their trust. And with there being quite a few small influencers out there, brands can really find somebody whose content aligns with their brand. For example, if you are a brand that sells hiking gear, you are more likely to get a higher return on investment by investing in a small influencer whose main niche is hiking than you would if you invested in somebody with 1 million followers and just does a little bit of everything. And those two things really are what it takes to secure a decently paying brand deal. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are talking more about how to increase the dollar amount of a brand deal that you have already secured or are at least in negotiation for. First up, exclusivity. If a brand does not want me to work with any competitors, they have to pay for that. Because signing a contract that prevents me from working with other brands means I will potentially be losing out on money, I am pretty firm with exclusivity. And in my experience, brands will either choose to pay up, shorten exclusivity, or just drop it all together, which works in my benefit. One question I get asked a lot is, how much do I charge for exclusivity? I usually charge a monthly rate for each month that somebody doesn't want me to work with a competitor. And that really depends on how broad their exclusivity terms are. For example, if a yogurt company asks me not to work with any other yogurt brands for a month, I'm not going to be charging them that much because I'm not missing out on a lot of business there. However, if they're asking that I don't work with any dairy brands, then that rate is going to be a bit higher because I need to account for more potentially lost business. Of course, as with any negotiations, you may reach some sort of impasse. I actually had to say no to a pretty lucrative brand deal this coming year because they wanted to put exclusivity terms in place that would prevent me from working with a ton of hair and beauty brands. Hair and beauty is kind of my bread and butter, so first of all, it wouldn't be very authentic for me to accept those terms. And second, they didn't want to pay my exclusivity rates, which I will admit were quite high, but I had to account for any potentially lost business. And in that particular instant, how I came up with my rate was I looked at all of the brand deals that I had done in the past 3 months by what they considered to be competitors, and I calculated how much I made from them. And I said, this is how much I would lose if I accepted your contract. So this is what you have to account for. The second way that I can increase the value of a brand deal is through usage rights. If a brand wants to repurpose my content to use on their website or to run digital ads with on social media, then they have to pay for it. And that is because if a company uses my content in any of those ways, they are likely to make more money from it. So I should be compensated accordingly. So whenever I'm in the negotiation stage with a brand, I ask them how they intend to use my content, if they intend to run ads with it or, like I said, use it on their website. If the answer is yes, then I put forward a monthly rate where they can use my content however they wish or however we agree to. One thing to note, do not sign away your rights in perpetuity. Look for that term on your contract because that means you have signed away the rights to your content forever. This sucks because, first of all, a brand can continue making money on your content for months, years, while you don't get a dime. Second, it is very possible that you are aligned with this brand now, but you might not feel the same in the future. Maybe they have a scandal, maybe their products just don't work for you anymore. If you sign away your content in perpetuity, even though you no longer stand behind this brand, they can continue on using your face and your content where you say they are the best thing ever. Last but not least, this is actually the #1 way that I increase the dollar amount of my brand deals, and that is leveraging other platforms or platforms outside of Instagram. I don't just have an Instagram account. Yes, it's primarily where brands find me and it's the primary place that they want me to post, but I also have a blog, which I own, and have the power to leverage to get long-term traffic. And I have a Pinterest account, which also is great for long-term brand awareness. My content currently has a monthly viewer rate of between 4 and 5 million. Whenever a brand approaches me to create Instagram content, I always pitch my other platforms as add-ons. And that means if I'm providing more deliverables, I'm adding more value to the brand, then I have the opportunity to make more money. And what I love the most about all of these tips is that you don't need a massive Instagram following to leverage any of them. And again, this is how small influencers are making big bucks. If you got some value out of this video, it would mean the world if you tapped the thumbs up. And while you're there, hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming content creation and blogging tips. Until next time.